Welcome back. We return now to the problem of underage drinking and the story of 16-year-old Sherry Cook, who started boozing at the age of 12.
Or do you want to ask her why she started drinking, or maybe your child is a binge drinker and you simply don't know what to do? Well, your questions coming up after this.
I love that sound, the crunch.
16-year-old Sherry Cook started drinking when she was just 12 years old. It made her so violent that her mother Linda asked her to move out when she was 14. A typical night for Sherry involved drinking her way through beer, shots, cocktails and alco-pops. Even her friends said she had a problem, but Sherry thought her drinking was normal, despite admitting to being a binge drinker.
She drinks on Thursdays, she drinks on Fridays, she drinks on Saturdays. That's just every weekend, that's just the way she is.
What do you think about Sherry's story? Do you think this is the way many youngsters today are going? What do you think can be done? How can we stop our children drinking so much? Or do you think that it's all part of childhood and youngsters will grow out of it? Your views, stories and questions on The Pulse.
Well, in the studio, I'm delighted to say we are joined by Sherry Cook and her mentor, Sean Farrell. Sherry, let's just start off by asking you why you began drinking in the first place so young.
Oh, I don't know why. It was like peer pressure, escaping something, loads of different reasons.
And did you become addicted very quickly?
Well, yeah, after a few months, so yeah.
And it's been a long, long battle for you because you're, what, 16 now?
Yeah.
How difficult has it been?
Well, it's just like getting out of it. It's so much harder than getting into it. Getting into it's like just walking over the road, something like that. So, yeah, it has been hard.
And just give us an idea of how much you were drinking per day.
Oh.
Difficult to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
And what sort of things were you able to... What sort of alcohol were you able to get hold of?
Everything. Just anything we wanted would get from the shop or, like, in the town, whatever.
So you didn't have trouble with people saying you're too young to buy that sort of alcohol?
No.
Quite extraordinary experiences.
If we did, we got someone to get it, so...
So you got someone to go and get the alcohol help for you. And we know that you went to America to actually literally dry out. And how did that happen?
Just through ITV, basically. They said, like, mentioned it, and I said I'd like to do it, because if it helped me, then I'd do it for myself and my family, so
and
I went and done it.
Are you completely clean now? Are you able to stay away from alcohol?
Yeah, I'm just like a social drinker now. I don't binge drink, don't go out and get drunk anymore.
But you do still drink alcohol?
Oh yeah, sometimes. Not like as much as I did. I'm not going to be teetotal, but much better.
OK, we'll have a little bit more from you in a moment, but I think we should go to our phone lines.
And indeed, and Sean will come to you as well, of course. Now, Clive Loveday is on the phone now. Clive, we saw you earlier in the programme. You lost your son when he binged on alcohol. New Year's Eve, I think it was. Any thoughts that you want to put to Sherry?
Hello, Sherry.
Hello.
Yeah, I think that younger people drinking alcohol. I think the problem is that because the official age for drinking alcohol is 18, and it's become easier available to get alcohol nowadays. Supermarkets and several other places. That you've got a clash, of the attraction of it.
Clive, what happened to your son? I mean, he'd been drinking for quite some time. Were you aware of it yourself or not?
We were aware of it, and we used to warn him. We used to always say to Matthew, Matthew, enjoy yourself, but watch out how much you drink. And I think the very last words that my wife Jenny said to Matthew was, Matthew, have a good time, but don't drink too much.
Yeah. Sean, sorry, you were going to say something, Sherry? Well, I'll just come to Sean then. Listen, the thing that puzzles me about this is that there seems to be an acceptance among parents that teenagers, young people, are going to drink quite a lot, probably a bit too much, and there's no way to rein them in.
Absolutely. It's difficult because both in Great Britain and in America, alcohol is a very accepted part of society, and it's a difficult challenge because sometimes parents believe that, well, it's accepted in society, so if we can just let them drink a little bit, then they won't necessarily drink as much, and that becomes a great challenge.
Sherry said she still drinks a bit. You don't mind saying this. Is that a good idea? Shouldn't you somehow wean them right off it, or is that impossible?
I don't know that it's impossible, but it's definitely Sherry's following the projected course of recovery. we expect there is going to be a long-term success, but to get there you need to go through a series of processes, and Sherry began that with the impact part by getting an initial treatment, and now she's figuring out what role it's going to play for her, and she has to be the one to make those decisions and where it fits in her life, and hopefully it will become less and less through over the years.
Sure. Let's go to John from Brighton, who's calling in. John, you've had an alcohol problem from quite an early age, since you were about 20, and you're saying you can't kick the addiction now.
I do have trouble with the addiction. I've gone to the AA and I've got help. I was in hospital a few times earlier this year. I'm really pleased for Sherry that she's getting help. I think the biggest problem we have in this country is that smoking has been highlighted as a problem for many, many years. There's been warnings on cigarette packets and so on. But until recently, I didn't realise how many units there was in my favourite can of beer. You know, there isn't warnings on bottles of spirits and stuff to the same level. I think that's what we really need to do, is highlight and educate the youngsters in this country that what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, John. Sherry, would you agree with that? No one was pointing out any of the dangers to you?
You don't know whether your liver's going to fail or anything, do you, until you end up in hospital that day, and who knows, you might end up dying one day.
So do you think it should have been advertised for you in schools about the dangers?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's hear now from another youngster. Chris, I think you're 17 years old. You're in Kidderminster. What do you think?
Well, I think, to be fair, that young people do get this sort of urge with other young people to drink, but on the other hand, it should be the education that support and help you through to the other end if you are an alcoholic as such. You know,
A lot of your friends, do you think, would you describe them as alcoholics? Chris?
Well, the one, she's gone really downhill. She's been with social services, and social services are just making it worse for her. She's getting more rebellious towards she comes through teenage life. You know,
right.
So...
Well, we've been out and about asking other viewers what they think about underage drinking and how it can be stopped. This is what they had to say.
They shouldn't be allowed to even buy it, should they? But how do you stop them if they don't buy it? They send someone else in, don't they?
It's becoming increasingly difficult for them to tell the age of children, isn't it, now? I think they just need to find a little bit more foolproof identity system than they've got at the moment.
Kids look older than you think they are, and how do you police it? It's the same as cigarettes, isn't it? How do you tell really that somebody's 16 and whatever?
That was views of people in Truro. Well, we've got Janet from Cambridge on the line now. Janet, you think there's just far too much alcohol available?
Yes, I do. I'm concerned now that it's too freely available in too many outlets. And should we not go back to off licences?
So you think it should be banned, for example, from supermarkets?
I do. The supermarkets can stand the loss, and the corner shops could go back to being safe places to go in the evenings. I've visited the States and America, and the alcohol there is only available in liquor stores to people over 21. The hours are very restricted, and they close as early as 11 p.m.
Janet, thank you very much indeed for that, and indeed to all the viewers who called in and texted us.
And indeed to Sherry and Sean, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, it's time for us to take another really quick break.
Coming up, stranded by Wilma, abandoned by the tour operators. What can you do to stop this happening to your family? And
In Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
She inspired Martin Luther King's fight. Rosa Parks, the First Lady of the Civil Rights Movement, dies. We remember her extraordinary legacy.
That's right after this. Don't miss it.
Welcome back. The storm may finally be over, but the victims of Hurricane Wilma are still suffering.
In Mexico, around 30,000 tourists are stranded in resorts. In Cancun, many are sheltering in schools and bus stations, packed in like sardines. Officials are hoping to reopen the airports soon.
Well, Sherry Webb is a British tourist, one of the unlucky ones. She joins us on the line from Cancun. Sherry, tell us what's happening there right now.
Hi. Well, basically, we flew out on Tuesday, got here in the evening, and then Wednesday got an evacuation notice. We were taken to a school. Basically, there were 30 or 40 of us in one room, boarded up windows, no electricity, no running water. The staff in the hotel that came with us have been absolutely fantastic and made sure we've had food. But to be perfectly honest, the UK reps that we've had with us, we've had misinformation, false hope. It's been a nightmare. We've managed to get back to our hotel, but most of the rooms are trashed. We still have no electricity other than in the lobby where they've got a generator going, no running water still, but we are being fed.
Obviously, Sherry Webb, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
Horrendous. So what should the tour operators be doing to help people like Sherry? And where do you stand? Well, here to help is our consumer editor, Chris Choi. Chris, these people feel totally abandoned.
I mean, that's a terrible story, isn't it? And I've spoken to Foreign Office staff who say they've discovered quite a lot of people who are in extreme discomfort. Now, let's not beat around the bush here. If you're on a package holiday, you are entitled to be looked after. That the tour operators have a duty of care to make sure that you're as safe as is reasonably possible and as comfortable as possible. Now, of course, we don't know all the facts. It's going to take a while to find out what's happening at the moment to particular tourists, but it certainly sounds from the kind of reports we've been hearing that people have been abandoned. They certainly feel abandoned. Some of them haven't got the reps. And look at the conditions they're dealing with. No phone contact, no water, no power in some cases. What is annoying some consumers as well is that the brochures don't always warn you that there's a risk of hurricane. We've been looking at some this morning. We've got a whole handful here that don't mention hurricanes. Of course, the companies know where and when hurricanes are most likely. They don't always give that information in the brochures.
And briefly, should the Foreign Office do anything?
Yeah, they should, and they are doing. They've flown out a rapid response team of 10 people. There are already 15 out there, consular staff and British Red Cross. They're touring all the evacuation shelters, and they tell me they have found people that are very unhappy and very uncomfortable out there.
Chris, thank you.
She was the inspiration for Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech in 1963. Rosa Parks, who was dubbed the mother of the civil rights movement. She's died at the age of 92.
Mrs. Parks changed the course of American history with just one act, her refusal to give up her seat on a bus to a white man in 1955. Romilly Weeks reports.
It was the simplest act of defiance with the most lasting consequences. Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat to a white man and changed her nation's destiny.
I didn't feel that it was the right thing for us to be enduring.
In Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, as in the rest of the American South, segregation laws banned blacks from sitting with whites on buses and restaurants and kept them out of many jobs and neighborhoods.
I'm expected to be a first-class citizen. I want to be one. I have struggled hard.
Rosa's courage launched the civil rights movement and inspired its greatest leader.
I have a dream. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Decades later, in a changed America, Rosa Parks was feted as the mother of the civil rights movement.
When a woman named Rosa Parks sat down on a bus in Alabama and wouldn't get up.
Streets were named after her. Her name is on the buses and public buildings. The America that Rosa leaves behind is a country where economic segregation is still rife, but it is at least a place where a black woman can reach the highest offices. In her later years, Rosa met world leaders and was honoured with degrees. But the way she wanted to be remembered, she said, was just as a person who wanted to be free, and others with her. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
Now the news where you are.